Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. When you guys first took this job, the pilot really sets the tone for this show.
Right.
And I think that the pilot episode really jumps right into these difficult, hard-hitting issues of race and racism and feeling alienated. You start off with these racial slurs, calling people slags.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, is that what it interests you about doing this project right away? Is that something you say, "Oh wow, this is the kind of material that I think is going to be hard hitting and really informative and open people's eyes"?
For me, absolutely. And Eric, I'm sure the same. We talk a lot about this. Absolutely.
Yeah, I felt first of all the writing was amazing, and I'd worked with some of these people before. I also felt that they had written George as someone who was fiercely protective of his family, but also wanted to fit in so badly. He had to be liked, and so I felt like his attitude had to be as positive as I could do it, but at the same time defend those points along the way where he's furious because he's been mistreated, or he's been called a slag or whatever. So, but it was, I don't know, we somehow found a rhythm that worked with all the producers and the writers and the directors. And oftentimes it was fun because directors sometimes did not know what we were going to do.
Right.
Like if we were making up a ceremony, how do we do that? So we're imagining this on the set in real time, and that's what made it fun, so much fun, because it's not like move here, move there, move. We kind of had this feel for it, like the knowledge that Sykes would have. Like, what do you mean? It takes two men to impregnate a woman. You're going to let that happen?
She's your wife, for God's sakes.
I cherish the day. I cherish the memories. Was his response, right? So, it's like, okay, we got the Ganom and the Binom, of course.
Of course.
And not only that,
we did tango.
Yeah, and let's let Eric have the baby. Okay.
Carry the baby. I got to say, Eric, your commitment to these traditions that you guys, as you say, you pretty much got together and made them up, but you pulled it off like a long-standing tradition that is, of course, it's like the sacraments that a Catholic church sometimes you go through, and it just, you've done this, you attended all these ceremonies of other people, and now it's your special time.
Right.
And the commitment that you had it sort of sucked me right into it. And I just,
well, it also allowed you to be a great observer.
Yes.
You
feel very uncomfortable with it, but wanting to join in and not.
If that's what you're doing, we'll go with it. But
sure.
Yeah. But
there's another aspect to George that I wanted to touch on. It's actually something that Aaron Eisenberg covered in an episode of DS9. George was going through PTSD before anybody really had defined what PTSD was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was, so many of the episodes that I like, again, back to the fact that I've just come off of rewatching them, a lot of them. But it really comes through what George had to go through and all the agony that he went through on the ship. And even though he's free in his mind, he's not completely free.
No, to be able to overcome, like the reality of in the one episode called The Game.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Okay, so they're doing a Russian roulette kind of a thing with that, and he's taken back with the memories of having his brother killed and having them, be basically prisoners aboard a slave ship. And so it definitely, it gets in there and it sits there and it's connected to his brain and his spine. So then what are you going to do when you have to try to overcome that and make a success out of a new life as a species that's brand new to Earth? It's like, it was very touching to be able to have a character that had different layers, and I think that's what pretty much everybody had on that show, was the opportunity to have all of these other, parts to them. And that's what Ken Johnson, the creator, really, really wanted, was he wanted a very, I would say human, but he was focused so much on family that there was that whole thing going on. And then the professional life as a cop, and then bringing, Gary's character into the family all the time was really kind of cool. And I think it was, Kenny was saying that it was one, I think a quick scene in the original movie, in the feature, with Mandy Patinkin and James Caan, where I think the family was waving goodbye as they went away to work, like a regular family. So he wanted to focus a lot on that,
That's what convinced him to take the project on. He saw the pilot, he saw the movie that it was based upon, and said, I'm not so interested in cop car chases and whatnot. But when I saw that scene that you just described, he said, okay, now we got a guess who's coming to dinner type of thing going on that really appeals to me. So he wrapped his brain around that. I think that's what that was largely the seed of success for our series, I think.
There was a lot of other stuff that they brought into it. We had female writers, and they were very adamant about writing strong female characters. So that fit in as well.
And boy, did they! Yeah, Terry Trees could just throw me across the room anytime. I had to go to special classes to have sex with him.
To learn how to have sex with an alien, right?
One of my favorite scenes there was when I come into the squad room and I'm like this, and you look and go, oh, Matt, did you and Kathy have sex?
That was the movie. That was Body and Soul. That was actually one of my favorite.
Oh yeah.
You missed the lesson number 3.
Well, even in the pilot episode, Kathy's yelling for help, but then she kicked the ass of three guys that were trying to attack her.
Yeah. I stayed with Kathy for protection.
Hey, Eric, you mentioned Kenny Johnson, the creator. I did want to ask a little bit about that. Before you started shooting even that first episode, did he kind of sit you down, or maybe the directors or other writers, and just kind of say, this is my vision, here are some helpful hints, here's what I'm looking for?
Early. Yeah, I got in on it early. I'd worked with Kenny before on a series called Hot Pursuit in 1984. So we were already good friends, and he called me and he said, I want you to do it. He didn't say which part. So I watched the show, the film. I'd seen it before. I got, let me look at it again. He goes, so I was thinking, do you want me to play, Gary's part?
Yeah.
This is before they brought Gary in. And he said, no, I want you to be George. And I went, let me look at it again. And I went, of course, I have to be. So what's interesting is that when you get the head on, you begin to transition into a character by studying how it works for you, how the sound comes out of that face, so that it may not be just regular Eric. There's a whole different rhythm to it. Even though it's me, it's something where we did talk. Kenny and I talked about how to be positive, how to be loving, how to be trusting, how what it meant when you would hear someone throw slag at you, and how that made you feel and how you worked from there. So we did a lot of talking about that. We even sat around. I don't know, Gary, were you in when we had a table read? We sat around and people. This is when we were shooting the pilot, I think. Everybody got a chance to talk about if they had experienced any form of prejudice in their life.
Right, racial prejudice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we had a pretty diverse cast, so that we could at least talk about it, bring those things out into the open, which was really great to hear. All the different. I think Emily Lauren said that her experience of racism wasn't racism. It was because she was smart. So people were prejudiced against her because she was the smartest kid in the class, and they didn't like her. You know, that sort of stuff. But
I was smart too. I was smart, and I found myself when I was third grade or fourth grade. I found myself, since my hand always went up first because I knew the answer. Simple technique my dad taught me when I was a little kid. He says, "Get your reading assignments and always read a chapter ahead. You'll be that much closer." Then when you're learning it through lecture and all that, you're familiar with this material. It's easier to learn. Pick it up. Just take a step ahead. And a little thing like that stuck with me, and I started doing that. And lo and behold, it worked. I was always a step ahead of the class, not to lord it over them or even feel special about it. It just made things easier. So I would do that, and I'd find that I got ostracized a bit because there's smart dude,
nerd,
exactly. I wore a nerd at 10 years old. So I felt that, and I would intentionally not raise my hand so much, and intentionally not know what the right answer was, even though I did. But everybody gets that. Everybody gets that. And slag was basically the N-word for black. That's the trigger button, and I think we all have. I think Kenny's and the writer's point was that we all have trigger buttons. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt me. All that kind of thing. And it was just doing this show was just a great lesson in tolerance. Things that you think about, but you never really spend day in and day out working out the story to show these morals, these great do unto others as others. Just a great edifying experience, Eric. I think I speak for you too. It was an edifying experience doing that. And in particular, do you remember when we took off and we went to New Orleans for some some special trip? I don't know why we were there, but we're walking down Bourbon Street, and because I play the human and Eric plays the guy with the head, that not everybody recognizes Eric so readily. But everybody, I mean, this thing was very popular in New Orleans. Everybody recognized me, and particularly the blacks recognized me, and they so related with the message of the show. They so related to the plight of the Tenkanese. They're all coming up and wanted to talk to me, and I'd introduce. I said, "This is George. This is George." They get all excited.
It would happen in airports. We'd
exactly
go to a place, and people would want to go up and shake Gary's hand, and they'd go like, "Who's this guy?" And you'd have to introduce me. And
then I said, "Eric, go like this." He goes, "Oh, yeah." Okay.
I had a great experience. I was doing an off-Broadway show in New York, and this was in '99, I guess. And we had shut down the movies by, I guess, a couple years by that time. We'd finished the 5 movies, but they were still running. And so the routine was I had to get a subway and then go cross town, and and it was late, and of course, after the show, you'd go out and get a drink or something like that. So it's like 2 a.m. Going uptown in the subway, and I got in there, and people just started staring at me. And I thought, what the hell is going on? And it was really fascinating because I was the one white person in the subway car. And they were all staring at me. And I thought, you know what? I know what this is. And this woman came up to me and she says, "You're that guy, right? You're George." And I said, "Yeah, I'm George." And she said, "I told you he was George." So now we're having this great conversation with a dozen people in the subway at 2:00 in the morning. And I'm going way past my stop. I was having so much fun talking with them because at that time, the show was really popular for a lot of reasons, and it spoke to what a lot of people went through, and so they were relating to it. I'm sure to this day we could be. They keep wanting to reboot it, but they never do. But it would be kind of cool if they did. I mean, Gary and I'd be like in the retirement home.
You guys would be the sergeants.
They'd bring us out because everything else failed, and so they would bring us in.
We've got walkers and canes and
Maybe Buck could have followed in his dad's footsteps. Maybe Buck would be a policeman.
Yeah, maybe.
And I could be the
or
cat.
Emily. Could be Emily.
Sirach, you look like you were going to say something on the subject.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that I really enjoyed the relationship that they had, and I think they really addressed a lot of things right away in the beginning. For example, Eric, your character, you asked Gary's character not to address him as slag in front of everybody. Can you not do that in front of everybody? You didn't say, can you not do it at all? You actually said, can you just not do it in front of other people while we're doing our procedures? And I just thought, wow, this guy is the complexity in that. It's not like you're totally denouncing what he's doing. You're just saying, hey, can you have a little bit of respect for me, sometimes? And I thought that was kind of poignant because that's something that people really experience. The other thing I thought was poignant was when you said, there's a call for an emergency at the school, and you asked to drive over to the school, and you said, that's my daughter's there, so you made it personal, and it's like, this is my family, this is my daughter. And then Gary, your character, I thought was amazing. The speech that you gave in front of that school, I think maybe the best speeches in television. It's just so meaningful. You talked about keeping America pure, and you were being sarcastic, but you did it in this way where like, let's do that. Let's keep America pure. Yeah, we should all wear white pointy sheets.
We should put them on.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's. Matter of fact, why don't we just kill this person right here and there and just get it over with? And I just thought that this is the kind of conversations that really open people's eyes to how other groups of people are being treated to this day. The working class, the throwaway class, whether it's race or economics, that causes people to be treated less than human.
Yeah. Well, Gary, I was watching that scene the other day because somebody posted it on Facebook. So I thought, fuck, I'm going to watch this thing again. It was great. And I thought, oh, yeah, I can see his Achilles tendon still blown out, right?
I just blown out my Achilles 2 days prior. 2 days. And I just put a real hard sports wrap on it with ace bandages, taped it up real good, and hobbled around in intense pain. So that was a painful experience doing that scene.
Wow.
But you could, and if they kind of cut around it, but you could see me limp.
They cut around.
It was noticeable.
Yeah, like they cut around Terry Treese's pregnancy at some point.
Yeah. She held books up.
We need more plants and trees on this to hide her.
Right. There was a moment in that scene, Gary, where you after you give your speech, you walk up to one of the black men that were in the crowd of that school, and you looked them in the eye, and you were saying something to the effect of, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Like,
aren't you?
You of all people, you've been experiencing this your whole life, and now you're gonna, give this kind of energy off, that is wrong. I really like that.
That was good. That was an extra doing that. He didn't have any lines. But he really felt the moment. I really liked what he did with that. There's a lot of little subtle, powerful subtleties that you can convey with just the slightest little nuance, and he nailed it. That was a great moment.
You nailed it. I thought it was awesome.